What's up, guys? Tim Little, Matt Allen. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today's video, our very last holiday buyer's guide for you. Today we are talking everything crankbaits.
I feel like I'm on repeat, but I'm gonna say it one more time. This is another one of those giant categories. We combined lipless and shallow crankbaits for one very simple reason. We are out of time. Christmas is almost here.
Yeah.
It's that simple. But it really is a giant category. I grabbed this for an example. This is my spring Squarebill box. It is packed to the gills with baits. This category can be huge, but just like anything else, it doesn't have to be. So what we've got for you here is a rundown of just our personal favorites. 4 different things, and they're in a completely random order. You want to kick us off?
Sure.
All right.
We'll start off with Squarebills. My absolute favorite Squarebill is going to be some kind of version of a 1.5. This is a Lucky Craft 1.5. They're the ones that kind of made that category, if you will. That size. You know, everybody's got a 1.5 size Squarebill now, but that Lucky Craft, American Shad, great colors. It's just my day in and day out starting off Squarebill. It's silent. You know, we've done so many in-depth videos on Squarebill and spring Squarebill, all that sort of stuff, but gonna try and simplify it for you. But I like starting off with a silent Squarebill. I feel like you get bigger bites, kind of sneak up on them. But yeah, that guy right there is my number one.
My number one is a little bit different. It makes some ruckus.
Knocker.
It's got a knocker in it. So this right here is the River to Sea Biggie. This is the standard size, the Biggie Papa. This is the Biggie Smalls. Primarily the Biggie Papa is my bait. When we go out fishing together, Tim usually starts silent. I usually start with some sound, and we go from there to figure out what the fish want on a different day. But those 2 baits, one silent, one rattling, fantastic options.
Yeah, great 1-2 punch. Next up for me is going to be the Spro Little John. A little bit different style of Squarebill. It's actually not a Squarebill at all. It's kind of got that circuit board, kind of a different shape. But
and
it's
a flat side.
It's a flat side, but this it's got a little bit subtle sound to it. It's really subtle, but it's a tungsten rubber ball, I guess, coated.
Yeah, it's like a rubberized ball in there. It's a soft ball.
It helps for that weight transfer system for casting long distances. But that guy right there, real tight wobble, and that's just a staple in my Squarebill stuff now. It's just, again, that 1-2 punch. That's, if I'm not going with the 1.5, I'm going with something like this guy.
And there's no question too, that is a late winter, springtime bait. If you're looking for a bait into that category, that's really a fantastic option. I've got another one coming. I'm not there yet though. I'm gonna add this guy in here also. One more unique bait. Again, there's boxes of Squarebills. We wanted to show you a couple options that would, 1, simplify, and 2, give you something unique. This is the 13 Fishing Scamp. And the reason that this bait is in here, it's a mid-diver, 3 to 5 foot, pretty standard. What makes it unique is how loud it is. This bait is louder, literally louder than every other Squarebill. I've never found a louder bait. It's crazy how loud it is. When that water gets dingy, again, springtime, we get those flash floods, your river comes up, the fish go dirt shallow, and a bunch of sound, a bunch of ruckus will pull those fish. That Scamp is a really unique bait.
Next up for me is going to be this guy right here. This is the Megabass Z Crank. This is the Z1. It comes in a 1 and a 2. 2's a little bit deeper diver, but this guy specifically, it's a really small Squarebill compared to some of these other baits here. But Megabass, you get that high-end quality, high-end fit and finish, right? The paint job, good split rings and hooks. But lighter line, I mean, we had a lot of fun chasing smallies and rivers with this little guy.
Yep.
But that guy right there, it does have a little bit of a knock into it. A little bit. But it's more for the casting distance. But yeah, that guy right there is another really the last year and a half, I've caught a ton of fish on this. It's kind of gained my confidence, I guess, and just now it's one of my staples.
I'm going to give you this one, and I'm going to talk about this one.
Okay.
Because it's not one, it's two.
Okay.
Adding to that, the first Spro you talked about, being a springtime bait, late winter into spring. Here's another one for you. This is one that I just absolutely latched onto this year. This is that Otts Garage Slim. I messed them up on this bait this year. In this color, in the other shad colors, in craw, just caught the fire out of them. True, flat-sided. For me, it's a colder water bait. Again, we're talking about a bunch of baits, but they're not all for the same thing.
They're all, yeah, not all for right now.
Yes.
This is throughout the entire year.
Each one has a purpose, and we want you to hear that because you'll hear the ones that jive with your style of fishing. That's what this is about. So this guy, for me, shined January, February, March is where I was really just locked. That thing was in my hand. I was out here on Chickamauga catching fish on that guy. Now, since then, they came out with this guy. This is the little one. And it's the actual name is the Otts Garage Tiny. So this is the slim, this is the tiny. Little bit shallower running, drastically smaller profile overall, but still a very castable bait on your lighter shallow cranking rods. Killer little pair right there.
Next one up for me was Matt's. This is the Spro. This is the Fat John 50. Now, I already talked to you guys about the
Little John.
The Little John. This is the Fat John. Where this bait really shines is ultra shallow water. You know, ever since the Lucky Craft went away with their little BDS 1, 0, that sort of stuff, that ultra less than a foot, like a foot and a half or shallower, right? When those, in the fall, right now, when those fish are pushing up, that bait right up shallow, you know, there's probably not a squarebill on here, on the boat deck here that would go as shallow as this guy right here.
Definitely not.
If you have those bait fish are blowing up, pushing those bait in the very backs of the pockets, and you need to go shallow, this guy right here is the bait to go. That Fat John 50, it's just a unique bait with a unique depth range that it hits, that it targets.
Yep.
Silent.
All right, next one, we're going to go the complete other direction. We're going big, okay? There is a time and a place for every size of bait. The vast majority of the time, we're throwing those middle sizes, right? But sometimes the bait fish are bigger. And there's two baits that we use. We literally that simple. I have a box of each of these because I'm fanatical about my tackle. But this is Lucky Craft's BDS 6. I have done so much damage with this bait. We've had a blast of this bait together, just lighting them up when they're chasing gizzards, when they're chasing bigger bait, that bigger profile. I mean, the BDS is a proven action, and it's just that on a grand scale. It's large enough that I'm able to throw it on the same rods that I would throw my big deep diving crankbaits on, but it is just a fish smasher. And again, it's a silent bait.
Yeah, next up for me, dang, these hooks are actually pretty sharp.
Yeah, and they're stock.
Yeah, they're stock. I was going to talk about that. Talking about the larger Squarebills, this one's actually 6 cents. What I like about this bait, stock hooks comes with stock EWGs. There's not a lot of baits on the market that come with stock EWGs.
Right.
The other thing that really sticks out about 6 cents is their colors and their paint schemes. They have a ton of different colors, but if you're fishing a body of water where the shad, the thread fins are just bigger, a bigger Squarebill, it's not going to get deeper. It's just going to have it's going to move a lot more water, a lot more aggressive thump. But if you're targeting fish that are feeding on larger bait fish, the bigger Squarebill, that 6 cents right there is a good bait.
You know what I like the most about that bait is that it's an in-between size. Like,
it's not giant.
It's big, but it's not giant.
Right.
Like the old Lucky Craft Magnum was giant.
I almost said Magnum Squarebills, but that's the bait I was thinking of. These are not Magnum.
This is half the size of that, and that's a third.
Right.
They're very fishy sizes.
Yep.
And again, we're running through a lot of baits right now. We'll take every single one of these baits in the order that we talk about them in the video description. We'll link them in that exact order. with our favorite colors for every single one to make this very simple for you. You want to kick us off with Lipless?
Sure.
All right.
You guys know, maybe you don't, most of you probably do, how much we love the LV500. It's a 3/4 ounce bait. That's what makes it special.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of lipless crankbaits this size, but not this size and that heavy. So you get that true reaction bite. When you hop that thing up and that thing's quickly falling down, those fish just smash it. It's just a special bait. It's got a special sound, and I don't know how many
special fish.
I don't know how many double digits between the two of us we have on an LV500, but I can tell you it's quite a bit. There's not much to say about it besides
you need to try it.
You need to have them.
Yeah.
In my mind, the LV500 is what it got me addicted to throwing a lipless crankbait. You know, I've kind of branched out to other things with different sounds, that sort of stuff, but the LV500 is the staple for me, and lots of great colors, but you cannot get into lipless crankbait fishing without trying these guys.
Now, he mentioned hopping.
Real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll talk about the 100 too, just because it's 3/4 ounce bait. This is just a lighter bait. Same thing with that Fat John. When those bait, when the bass have the bait up shallow, we're talking less than a foot of water.
Sometimes they've got them dirt shallow.
Dirt shallow. That same thing, that LV100, that's where that bait shines. So I went ahead and threw that in here. So the 500, you can fish at any depth. You know, the deeper the better, right? 12 to 15 probably is we've caught a lot of big fish in that depth range. But if you're going ultra shallow and you still want that lipless crankbait, that guy right there, the LV100.
So when you're thinking lipless, you're thinking chucking and winding, which is correct. But there's also a time for bottom hopping, and it's for a different video. But the LV and the bait I'm about to talk about are both baits that can be done chuck and wind. They can also be hopped right on the bottom, more like a jig for giant bites. So the one I want to talk about, and I guess I'll talk about two as well. This is the Jackal TN70. Very similar in terms of profile and weight to an LV, but completely different sound. When we lived in the West, the LV destroys giants. It's incredible. Since we got to the Tennessee River, for whatever reason, I absolutely wreck shop on the TN70. Similar profiles, different sound, and the fish in two different places just seem to respond differently to them. And along that exact same lines, when they're pushing dirt shallow, there's this little guy. There's one in between as well, but the two ends of the spectrum are the distinct ones. This is the little Jackal TN50, and it's little. I mean, it's significantly smaller than the LV100.
Yeah.
This little guy will get bit bottom hopping or burning when nothing else will, because a lot of times in the fall, you get that immature bait, right? That little tiny shad, tiny silverside minnows, and they're in such shallow water trying to stay away from the bass that if you're hopping a heavy bait, you're not, I'm going to say in the air, but it's in the water, right? You're off the bottom for not very long. They just crash back down. These lighter, smaller baits, when you hop them, will hover just a little bit longer on their way down, and that's all the time it takes for a bass to swipe them.
Yeah, having the different sizes is key. Having baits with different sounds is key. But again, that's a different video.
Right.
We're just trying to, again,
keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Take a giant category and give you the go-tos. Next up is going to be the Bill Lewis, the original rattle trap.
Actual rattle trap.
The actual rattle trap, the lipless crank. Now, this is a bait that I don't hop very often. This is one of those get up along the riprap, get up along the grass line, and just go. You know, it's fairly loud bait. It's light. So what I like about this is I could fish this over the tops of grass. You know, it's not gonna get down in the grass like the 3/4 ounce LV. It's just a more universal if you're fishing shallower, like Matt was talking about, that little guy not falling as quickly. Same thing if you're doing that burn retrieve. when you pause or you rip it, it's not going to crash down and get hung up in whatever you're trying to fish over.
Right.
Fairly inexpensive in this genre, in this category, but that Bill Lewis, the actual original rattle trap, check them out.
This is the Cotton Cordell Spot. This is, so same thing. A lot of the baits that Tim and I throw are pricey baits because we don't let the cost of a bait stop us from catching fish. And we're just tackle addicts. I mean, let's be real.
You try it, right?
You have to try.
Yeah.
We have to try so that everybody else doesn't have to try everything. So we go way out of our way to try everything. And sometimes you find these really pricey baits that do something special. Once in a while, you find a dirt cheap budget option that does something special. And for me, that is that Spot. That bait is special. It falls incredibly slow and it holds depth really well. So much like the rattle trap, over the top of grass flats. The grass might be this far under the surface. I throw that thing out, give it just a second to get under the surface and just start burning, and it holds depth really, really well. I took this bait all the way to South America. I had to choose very carefully what baits went on that trip because our tackle was literally weighed.
Limited.
We had to leave clothes behind to get tackle in.
Well, that was our choice, but yes.
That's true. I guess other people would have brought more clothes, but
yep.
This bait made the cut for me on a trip of a lifetime. It's a special bait that just gets bit. If you're fishing shallow, if you're fishing shallow flats, over the top of grass, that's a bait that you do not want to overlook, and it is not a pricey bait.
Yeah, very inexpensive. All right, so we went larger profile on the Squarebills, so now we're going to go larger profile on the Lipless. Now this is the Aruku shad, that's the 85, so it's made by Spro. The reason why this bait, some of these baits, you start getting into like a 3/4 ounce rattle trap or a 1 ounce rattle trap, they get huge.
Giant. A 1 ounce rattle trap is like,
they're big. So you get that heavier weight, that quicker fall in not a giant package. So that guy right there, if I'm throwing a little bit larger, I go with the Aruku. It all depends on, it's match the hatch, right? Just like the bigger Squarebill, if your fish are feeding on those bigger thread fins, bigger cod, whatever it may be, that's where you step it up and go with a bigger bait. You can see the size comparison to a normal size, average size LV500.
Yep. I'm going to talk about a larger one as well. This is the 6th Sense Quake 80, and this is my last bait that I'll talk about. Same deal, little bit larger profile, but not ridiculously oversized, just a little larger. Great color patterns, great stock hardware, and that's a big deal. So similar places that I would throw that Spot, just bigger. I got on some fish with this when we were coming cross country on one of our trips. We were in Arkansas, and I got them eating this bait, and there might as well have not been another bait in the boat. They were just eating that bait, and for that reason, it's just always in the back of my mind, like that's a bait I need to pick up and try when I'm out there fishing, because sometimes they're just dialed.
Yeah, with these lipless cranks, it's all about the body shape, the wobble, the sound. The color. I mean, there's so many factors, but that's a different video. But we've played around with a lot of baits on the market, and these guys right here are our go-tos when we're traveling all over the country.
Yep.
Let's talk rods?
Let's talk rods. You go first, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. I guess I'll start off at what we use all the time.
The best of the best, like the one rod.
So it's taken us years. I mean, we went through, I don't know, 10 or 12 different crankbait, lipless crankbait, Squarebill rods to really try and figure out, it's a fine line of give and take. We're going for bigger fish. You need that good parabolic bend to keep that rod loaded, but you need enough tip to get that bait hopping up, and we finally found the perfect rod. It's the IMX Pro 845 CBR. I mean, you can throw deeper cranks on it, 10, 12, 14 footers, but squarebilling, lipless cranks, hopping that lipless crank, this is our go-to Out of any price point, any rod, whatever, this is our go-to rod. And then specifically paired up with that Bantam. It's a very, very solid feeling reel, very smooth. You can cast a mile, but it's just a workhorse, right? Cranking, Squarebill, and Lipless cranks. It's just super smooth. It's that single piece body frame. It just feels good in the hand, and it balances really well with this rod. So when you're doing that hopping technique, it just goes together like peanut butter and jelly. It's really, really good combo. That is our day in and day out. If we're going Squarebill and shallow, we're throwing Lipless cranks, that guy right there.
Look at the difference in the cork on these two rods. I mean, I feel like that speaks volumes.
Right.
It is mangled. The cool thing about it, and Tim said it, is that it will throw all the above. It's a great Squarebill rod. It's a great Lipless rod. I wanted to add this one to the mix because it was new this year. So G Loomis IMX Pro, still, they started coming out with technique-specific rods. And one of them is this Lipless rod. And I've started fishing it a lot more. I still have not beaten it to death.
Right.
But it's the exact same rod, almost. It's 1 inch longer. That's it. It's a very, very comfortable rod. So if a guy wants a dedicated Lipless rod, how do you pass up the one with the Lipless literally printed on the side of it? But I love my 845, but I had to know. So I got the 855, and I've been putting it through the paces. So far, so good for the people that want to know. This one's paired up to a 13 Fishing Concept C2, which I have no idea how we're on the last buyer's guide before that reel ever popped up. This became a reel that I threw a ton this year. One of probably 3 or 4 reels that are just always on the deck of my boat. What I like about this reel is it's incredibly lightweight, especially for its price. I love the Aldebaran for a lot of different techniques. This weighs very similarly. It's extremely lightweight, but for about half the price of a true high-end reel. So I'm able to balance out all sorts of different rods without a high-end priced reel.
And yeah, I know how he forgot to put it in the buyer's guide because it was on that rod. It wasn't until we went to grab this stuff today to do this, you're like, dang it. That's one of my favorite reels.
I'm like, how was that not on the $500 video?
Right.
What is going on?
Literally found it on his Lipless rod.
Yep. So just another great option for you guys.
Well, there it is, guys. That is the final holiday buyer's guide. It's been a lot of fun going through all the different techniques, doing videos every day, but it helps out the angler, right? Especially if you have people trying. We know that buying fishing tackle, my wife hates buying fishing tackle for me, and I'm sure yours is the same. It's hard to buy for the fishermen. So that's what these buyer's guides are for. You guys request them. You guys, we love doing it. Yeah, it's time to go fishing. But we will link all these products down below in the video description. Excited for the new year. Got lots of things planned, but yeah.
I'm excited to go fishing. This was a bunch of buyer's guides. I'm glad we did them. We look forward to it all year. We know you look forward to it all year. But Tim hit it. It is time to get fishing. Back on the water. Let's go fishing.
Yeah. Guys, we'll link everything down below in the video description. Our different baits in order, favorite colors, gear, all that stuff. And yeah, we will see you on the next video. If you guys like this video, give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe, hit that bell, turn on those notifications, and we'll talk to you soon, guys. Have a good one.